Welcome to Meshery Build and Release Call, where we discuss all kinds of CI/CD, DevOps, testing aspect of Meshery and its ecosystem. So, before we move forward, let's do some housekeeping item wherein to make sure that you put your name in the meeting minutes so that we don't miss you out. And if you are also if you have webcam and good bandwidth, then make sure you turn on your webcam because it's quite nice if we communicate while having our webcam on. And before we moving forward, let's ensure that we also give a chance to newcomers to introduce themselves. I see a number of people new on this call. And so would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey Pranav, it's me. My name is Saurabh. I'm here. Today is my first meeting for the Meshery release meeting, and I've been part of the Meshery since February, but I didn't able to join the Meshery calls. Now I'm here and looking forward to contribute to the Meshery. And so yeah, thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for joining. And Vaibhav, have you introduced yourself on this call before?
Yes, I did, but I won't mind introducing myself once again. Hello, everyone. I am Vaibhav, and I am interested in CI/CD issues for the timing. And today I'll be presenting an item or my PR to you for your feedback on my on the changes that I've introduced. So this is about.
That's great. And Swastik, are you new on this call?
Yeah, hello. My name is Swastik. I am from Rajasthan, India. I am currently a GSOC mentee at CNCF and a former LFX mentee at Jaeger Foundation. I am my major domain lies in backend, so I decided to attend this meeting, and I wanted to know about more and more about the project. I am currently new to it, so I'm here.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks for joining. And Sinali, are you also new on this call? Would you like to introduce yourself to others?
A few months before I joined for the mission, LAFI, and currently I'm intern LAFI.
Okay, that's great. And okay, so I think we have covered everybody. And just before we move to our first agenda item, I'll just again regurgitate that in case you haven't added your name in the meeting minutes, then I put the link in the chat. Ensure that your name is on the attendees list so that it's easy to track. And that's it. So let's move to our first item. That is one of the standing item which we discuss on all our calls, so that everybody gets a gist of what we discuss and a little bit of overview of Meshery's test plan. So basically, this spreadsheet gives you an overview of different kind of tests that's run for Meshery, basically for different components and the different environments, and what kind of area that test should be covering, and whether that test is covered in an E2E test or not. In case you're new and you don't know, E2E basically means end-to-end testing, which means like a particular functionality, a complete functionality of a specific feature is tested, and not just unit tests where we just test a function. It's a little different. And yeah, that's basically a gist of this spreadsheet. And also, like, for doing the testing and participating in testing effort of Meshery, you don't really need to know everything about backend. You can also write your test in scripts, bash scripts, and yes. And before, other thing to know about this, okay, one more thing is first of all, we really need to ensure that Meshery most all the different areas of Meshery are tested perfectly in our workflows. And currently, a lot of these tests are not part of our E2E testing, and we need to ensure that all these reds are turned into green. And for that, we really need everybody's contribution as well as complete effort so that we can move forward in the right direction. So in case you are new and would like to take any of these specific tests and you would like to work on that, then quick way of doing that is first you should be creating a quick issue on Meshery's repo, and you can give a description of what kind of test you would be taking care of. And then once you make an issue, then any of the maintainers will assign you that issue, and then you can start working on it. And that's it. And other thing to know is like, if you like to see how testing is done, then if you could go to one of the repos, like let's say Meshery Istio adapter. So Meshery Istio adapter is an adapter of Meshery, which helps Meshery to talk to Istio, to have different features of Istio service mesh, and these adapter run as graph, as small gRPC calls, and then these like talk to Meshery server. And currently there's an end-to-end test for this, which basically tests like the complete features of Meshery Istio adapter. That is like whether the adapter starts properly, whether Meshery is able to provision Istio service mesh through it, and it's able to provision any of the sample application of Istio service mesh. So this is one of the example of E2E test, which already runs almost on every PR, as well as also whenever a new release is made for Istio adapter. And this is like an example if you would like to know how currently things are being done. And other thing to note is that whenever a test is run on any of the adapters, it actually posts the results on Meshery docs. So there is a compatibility matrix which actually gives you an overview of which component of Meshery is compatible with which Kubernetes version, and whether the test which ran for the specific version was successful or not. So currently, as you can see, a couple of tests are still failing on latest release, and we need to ensure that these get fixed. So you can also take up any of the fix for the specific adapters, or you can work on the other spreadsheet thing which I just discussed. So either of the thing would be great way for you to get started with our projects and the CI/CD effort. And let's say if you want to work on this fixing of Nginx service mesh test, first let me actually show you. Like if we click on this, then it will actually show like when the test was ran on what component version. Actually, Meshery have two release channel, edge and stable. Edge means like whenever a PR is merged, then an edge release is made, and whenever a new version release is out, then we call it stable release. So as you can see, like this test, I think we are not even running the latest test because yeah, as you can see, it's August and we can see it's 7, so it's not correct because I think there's some issue in the current workflow and we need to fix that. So how you can go about it? You have to first go to this Nginx service mesh adapter, and you'll see that. Let me show. If we go to actions, you'll see E2E test Nginx service mesh adapter, and here you'll see like most of them are failing. This ran when a new release was made, and you can see all the four of the jobs were unsuccessful. And how will you know that how to fix it? You'll actually like, if you'll go to the specific area where it failed, you'll actually see like what's going wrong. As you can see, there is a bug. And then if you like go through the logs and you'll figure out what's the issue, and then you can start fixing it. So before I move forward to the next part of the spreadsheet, I would like to ask who would like to take up any of these items which I just discussed, whether these tests or fixing of Meshery adapters. Any takers on the call? Okay, so yeah, Philip, that's great. Philip is already like doing an amazing job on a MysterySerial area. He regularly like fixes different areas of MysterySerial, and we have a couple of PRs open. So he's a great resource if you like to ask any of the questions related to this testing framework and other tests that we run. And
the question is there a guide on writing these tests for contributors too?
Yes, I think on the docs there is an overview of how current scenario is for all the tests, and I think the specific guide, if you ask like this actually special already explains like what test needs to do and what should be the action and all the different scenarios. So I wonder like if more guide is required other than this. Any suggestions?
I'm
in
looking at
case
the
like
MysterySerial contributing guide
Mhm.
to see if there's anything that
Mhm.
might come into picture for this.
Yep.
Writing
Okay,
unit
so
and integration tests. Mhm.
Mhm.
Well, I'll for now, let's just I'll share the link to the contributing guide, and that'll help anyone who is interested to know more.
Yeah.
We can look at any questions.
While others ask more
But
questions, like
this is specific to end-to-end tests, right?
yes, yeah,
Is it
end-to-end test.
specific to?
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Yeah, I don't see any detail about like how one would create an end-to-end test for MysterySerial. It's more of like high level about, if I were look for the word test, really short. Can you open that up? Like, oh, okay, yeah. Maybe a link to one of these in the Meshery contributing Meshery CLI guide would be helpful, so that everyone can refer to this YAML. And it's really
Yeah.
like, I assume it's self-descriptive as long as the person looking at it has like prerequisite knowledge.
Yep. Yes.
Yeah. So my
Actually,
suggestion
like
is to add the link to that into the guide, but it's there for everyone for now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And like writing these would like just require a little bit of overview of how Meshery behaves when it starts or when it stops or when it connects to different connections and stuff like that. But like if in case you have any questions, then you can always ask on Discuss forum, because all the maintainers and other contributors and community members are always available to answer all the questions. So I don't think any of the questions get unanswered there. That is a great resource. So moving forward, like there's other part of the spreadsheet that is, it actually gives like what kind of thing we already have in place. That is like if you talk about Meshery build and release, which, or let's say integration, let's say this release charts and validate. What this test basically does is that whenever a new Meshery release is made in this stable channel, it actually releases all the latest charts of Meshery and its other component like Meshery operator. So basically, this part of the spreadsheet gives you overview of what tests we currently have and what area of the workflow runs that test, as well as in which repo you'll find that specific workflow. So like before getting started with writing tests, you can actually read and go through all the tests which already run and all other workflows. So this would actually help you accelerate your journey through writing tests. So yep, that's about it. So any questions on these so that we can move forward?
Sorry, Suhail. Sorry, Pranav. Please, can you share that link to the NX like we're showing that diagram, please?
Okay. Nginx service mesh. This one.
No. The on the website, on the Meshery website. Yes, that one, yeah, that Meshery, and yes. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so we'll move to the next item, that is from WebHub on email on failure job fix. WebHub, would you like to discuss this item?
Yeah, sure. So I'll start sharing my screen, right?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. And now, let me know if it's visible.
Yep, it is.
Okay, so I'm working on this workflow that sends an email if any of the jobs in the build and release table workflow fails. All right. So uh, earlier, uh, yeah. So earlier this workflow was failing, and when it was not failing, it sent an email, but the details were irrelevant because the job status and job name were set to current job, not to the failed job. So to fix this, I created another PR, but it had some syntax error. That's why it failed, and the fix got reverted. Now to fix the syntax error, I had to move to the matrix strategy, and we have to iterate over all the jobs and determine which failed, and to then curate a list of the failed jobs, which I'll store in this variable, environment variable failed jobs. All right, we determine which job failed, and we determine by the. All right, so this this if statement will check if any job in the needs matrix failed. All right, and it will then append the job name to the environment variable failed job, and we'll add the failed jobs detail by to the environment variable failed detail, and it is a pair of job name and field details, and then it terminates with an endline character to distinguish between different jobs. And once all the jobs in the needs matrix are iterated, like, just a second, okay, so these are all the jobs which will be iterating on, and once all the jobs are evaluated for failure, we'll finally send an email by using the actions and mail GitHub action that is already there. Here are the credentials and the the setup to send the email. We'll send the email to support at layer 5, and body will be like workflow field, and here are the results. And to you know the jobs will be the jobs that are present in the field jobs environment variable, and the details of the field jobs will be in the environment field detail. So before I move forward, I want to confirm if this statement is correct or not, like these two statements which are updating the environment variables. I am not sure, I am not very confident on these expressions. That's why I need your feedback. And like, is there any better approach to this problem that you might suggest?
I was like wondering, like currently you are doing a string appending,
Yes,
and yeah,
appending the job name
yeah,
given.
yeah, it looks good so far. Like we can test it out, but like I don't think there's any issue. More than that, I was just wondering, like, is there a separate syntax for like um saving the result in an environment variable? Because I think there is a that less than equal to sign which we use. I
Uh,
think for
you mean something like
for
this?
exporting. Yeah, yeah,
Gita,
for exporting. Yeah,
Gita
for
DNV.
exporting to.
Okay,
Yeah.
so this was for job specific environment variables, but what I am setting is global environment variable
Mhm.
that is defined here. So we don't need to. I don't think we need to use that syntax for this. But
Yeah.
if you're highlighting this, I'll once again look
Oh,
go through the docs and confirm this before
mhm.
I mean I'll update you
Mhm.
on the PR.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Otherwise, it looks good to me.
All
Anybody
right.
has any questions on this?
I
Hey,
have a
hi,
comment.
Pranav. Hi. Yes,
Go
I
ahead
think
first.
somebody
You
else.
first.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, no worries. Thank you. Yeah. So I would say that I have very little idea of how this whole workflow works, but I was just thinking instead of going through the number of jobs that Vaibhav has mentioned in the matrix field over there, instead of just doing that, why can't we just add the step for sending out failure emails to each of those uh, jobs individually?
Okay. So Pranav, are you going to answer that, or should I take it?
Yeah. I think then it will send out different emails for each failure, and I wonder if
Yeah,
we wouldn't
that's
want
fine.
that.
Plus, it will, violate the don't repeat yourself principle, because we'll be adding the same piece of code everywhere, like at the end of every job, this much piece of code to every job, and it won't look very good. And if even if we want to add the email steps to every job, what we can do is determine which like we can add the metrics here, right? And we iterate over all the jobs and send the email if the job failed, but it will send, many emails. Like if 5 jobs failed, it will send 5 different emails. So I don't think we want that to happen. That's why I had to, go something like this, like find the failed jobs in one job and then, use the variables to send the email, like to send one combined email for all the failures.
Yeah.
And considering the time that it takes for each job to run. So if one of the job gets stuck, so does
Uh,
this workflow ignores it or waits for that particular job to complete?
uh, the needs matrix this need matrix is like it will wait for all these jobs to complete, either fail or pass, and then only it will run the find failed jobs job. And
Mhm.
next is email on failure, which will run after the find failed jobs job is run. So that's how it works. Like it will wait for the jobs in the needs matrix to complete, either fail or pass. It doesn't matter, but it will wait until
Yeah,
that
so it's like
there is
my
another.
main concern was first of all to not spend too much time on developing such a complex workflow itself. Why not it be just a step? And when you said the aspect of copying code over multiple times, I think for something close to this, like a job run that happens with everyone. Let's just say that we have a same step, say like printing out the output finally when the job completes. So it's very similar to something like that, right? If it passes, then fine. Like if it fails, it will just send out an email. It is very close to, say, printing out the output of uh, a process or a thing that you did. So
All
it just
right.
seems to me that it might be simple just to put a step in each and every workflows. But yeah, I think it's also a individual aspect here.
Okay, but even if we add each step to separate jobs, it will send multiple emails, not a single email. So that's also an issue here. Like,
No, but if multiple jobs fail, we would
okay,
receive a single email or we would receive like a
okay.
single,
So
I mean, individual emails here.
my method will, like, if we go by my approach, we will receive one single email for multiple failed jobs. And if we go by what you are suggesting, it will send multiple emails if there are multiple failures. That is there, but yeah, I mean, there
One
are not.
question. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
I
Mari, please
got
go
it.
ahead.
So
And then,
just curious, would the email be actionable? Like, would there be a link to look at exactly what's the run that failed, or would it require the recipient to go ahead and look for it?
Like
And maybe
I didn't
that's an
fully
enhancement
get
for
it.
later if it's not possible. Go
Uh,
ahead, sorry.
I'm not sure that I got your question right. So can you just please repeat yourself?
Yeah. So this will send an email for one or multiple failures, just a single email. But would there be a link for that redirects the recipient of the email, whoever receives that and opens that email? Would they be able to
Okay.
go to the exact job run?
Not really right. Right now, there won't be
Not right now.
any link to the job failure, but I suppose there is a link to GitHub. Like view it on GitHub in each of the emails sent by GitHub Actions. So
Ah,
that yeah, that's what I
uh,
guess will be there
so
right
there's
now.
probably some native link that's
Yeah,
added,
yeah,
but
that
maybe
may
not.
be.
Okay,
Yep,
cool.
that's right.
Yeah, this
Do
this
you have
seems
any
really
other
specific
questions?
to this workflow, right? The build and release table. Like for now, there's
Yeah,
no plans to add this functionality to other workflows, correct?
that's correct.
Okay. So regarding the reuse code, like I guess that for now, it's okay to keep it on here, but as soon as we want to use it in multiple workflows, that's a good time to start using the the dry principle and then move it into what is it, like a workflow template or like a reusable. But for now, I would suggest we keep it this way. I think
Okay.
Pranav agrees with me. He's nodding.
Yeah,
Right, Pranav?
actually, what you're suggesting is like we create a separate workflow for this specific action, and we reuse that workflow if we want to like scale this job and add this job to different workflows. That makes sense.
But just when there's a requirement to reuse it in multiple places. Like for now, it seems this is very specific to the build and release table, and it makes sense because if there's a build and release that where that has one or more job failures, we do need like immediate action. It's desirable. So for now, we can just keep it as a single non-reusable piece of code until there's need to enhance it in such way.
That's right. That makes sense.
That's like sound good to me. We can, I think, move forward. And
sorry, one more thing. Can you hover over line 208? There's some squiggly lines. That makes me wonder if in the needs matrix I have with your cursor, but can you just hover over it? Like, what does it say? It might be invalid. Is this still under progress? Because I had
actually it happens with a lot of like other variables as well that are in the workflow. Even
okay, because I'm looking at the like the docs for the workflows, and I haven't seen that usage. Then at least it's more of to specify on the dependency for between jobs, but not as like I hadn't seen the needs keyword being used as a what's the name, as like containing the matrix strategy. But has there been any run, and does this work yet?
Actually,
or
the needs context is accessible in a job. Like if we specify the needs for a job, we can access this context in the job itself. To look, I mean, to iterate over the jobs and to fetch the details of specific jobs. So that's accessible.
Okay. So has there been any runs in GitHub to see how it looks in action? So
that's the whole problem right here. Like I cannot test it on my own, and it will only get tested if a release is there. So that's
that looks like a shortcoming in the development experience for these YAMLs.
Yeah, right. So it is kind of hit and trial. Like we make changes and we wait for the release, and we get to take the results only when there is a release for this specific
what
item.
do we need to do to make this testable before merging it, or before pushing it back to the main repo, to the upstream?
That's something I
Is
have
it
no
just
idea
like
about.
environment variables? Okay, yeah. And maybe it's an open question for anyone, but we don't have to answer that right now. Just
actually to test it, we need to start the workflow, and that workflow is build and release table. So it is specific to the build and release table workflow. So it will only run if the workflow is running. So basically, we need to make a release to test it for the time being. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we can make a release in a forked repo. Maybe not. But it'd be ideal to mimic that and test these kind of changes. But it's okay. We'll figure it out if needed. Thank you.
So moving forward, thank you, Weber, for explaining that. It looks good to me. And let's move to the next item. That is, I think Fridish is not on the call today. Okay, he is. Fridish, would you like to give an update on your recent works? Okay, so I think we are having some bandwidth challenges. So we'll circle back to Fridish. So moving on to the next item. I think Suhail is also not with us today.
Yes, sure.
Okay, Fridish came back. So would you like to give an update? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I think that. Okay, good. I think that it's okay now.
No, actually, we cannot see your screen.
Yeah. Sorry. I can't. I'm currently on my phone, so it's right. So I will just give an overview of what I've been doing. I mean, since the last time, I have been working on the improving the connectivity for Prometheus and Grafana. So what I did was replacing the node power by the load balancer, and actually for the Prometheus it was actually successful, but I haven't run any tests now for Grafana, and yeah, I'm yet to run any test for that, some tests for that.
Okay, so for a little bit of context for others who are new on the call, Meshery as an extensive cloud data manager recently has a full-blown deployment of Meshery in the form of Playground. So what that deployment basically is a Dockerized version of Meshery, and it also has a connected Kubernetes cluster. So what's the scenario is like Meshery is running on one of the hosts on one of the VMs, which is connected to the internet, and the other VM in which Kubernetes is running. And Meshery actually internally talks to it because both the VMs are accessible to one another. And also this deployment also comes with all the Meshery adapter and all the resources. So this is quite helpful for new contributors and Meshery users who would like to give a quick try out to Meshery and its features. And so what the ask which British is working on right now is that if we could go to Meshery. So this is the playground, and the ask is like if currently there is no observability setup in this playground environment. Basically, what that means is that like currently there is no metrics which you can see out of the connected Kubernetes cluster, and at the same time you cannot see like the different basically all the observability like one would like to see. Also, there's no connected Grafana and Prometheus. So Vidish is like working on ensuring that there is a running instance of Prometheus and Grafana, and so that we can get out all the metrics for this specific Kubernetes cluster. So I think Vidish just said that like he need to test out a few of the stuff, and yeah, I think he'll be working on the monitoring namespace, right, Vidish?
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
No, actually, it was currently on my own side. I don't think that you can see. It's still on my PR.
Okay, so okay,
Yeah.
so it's still you have an open PR on that. Okay. Okay, so anybody has any questions on this? So in case you haven't like looked at the playground, so a quick way to go to playground is ensure that you check out this website so that you get all the relevant information regarding it. So before we move forward, any questions on this specific thing which Pradesh is working on right now?
Yeah, I have a question. Pradesh, have you connected Meshery to Prometheus in the playground?
Yes.
Oh, great. And are you able to, okay, good. Are you able to, what's the IP of the Prometheus instance or the host name?
I have to verify it before sending it to you. But yeah, it's do I remember? It was actually running on Port 1990, the last time that I ran it.
Okay. And so, yeah, we could actually use the visualizer probably to go find it. So is this... Yep. So it's a Prometheus service that's running?
Yeah. But actually, it's not present there. It's only on my side.
Why?
I don't think that we can.
Yeah.
Because my PR was not merged yet. And,
Wait, okay, but I thought you said there is a Prometheus running in the playground.
oh no, not yet.
Okay.
I think that
And so-
when I will be done with all my tests and give a final feedback.
Okay. Yeah. So, by the way, so we've been talking about this for too long. Too long. This is something that can be done within 30 minutes.
Okay.
It can be done. Yeah. I mean, but you know, it's fine. But now that we can probably finish it off in this call. Like if I think your continued challenge is about getting the Prometheus service interface exposed external to the cluster. Do you have a solution for that now?
Not yet.
Okay, so you're in the same
But-
place that you've been for the last month, right?
Yeah, but actually for that, I was just thinking using a load balancer. I mean,
Yep, sure, that would work. So are you going to do it?
Yeah. That's actually what I did.
Okay, so it's in the, let's go merge your PR. Like your PR can't hurt anything. Like inside of your PR, you've defined a Prometheus operator and a particular config for node exporter. Is that right? Or something else?
Yeah, no. I just defined, I mean, all the previous setup are still there. And there was previously Prometheus was exported to with node port. So I replaced it with a load balancer.
Good. Although this environment doesn't have support for a load balancer, I don't think.
Oh.
Maybe it does if it's running Metal LB. I don't remember that it is. I don't remember at the moment. I don't think that it does, but that doesn't mean that we can't get it exposed. So Thibaut, you need some help. It's been too long. You're in the same place you've been for a month. This is actually really rather important. People that come in and use the playground to use Meshery and they explore. If it isn't connected to a metric system, or if it hasn't had different dashboards loaded, it gives them a subpar experience like what you see here. And I know that you know this. And so anyway, my point of going over this isn't to grind on you, actually it's to support you. So I wonder, are you not sharing your screen right now because you don't have bandwidth or?
No, because on my phone.
Okay.
I'm on my phone. Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder if Pranav can maybe help us get a little bit further. Thibaut, as you've worked to get a Prometheus deployment running, you've described that in a design, in a Meshery design?
No.
Oh, no. Okay. Well, okay, that might be nice if you did, but we can do that right now. Have you described it inside of a Kubernetes manifest? Or just like what's inside of your PR? It's just a manifest of a Prometheus, right?
Yes, it is a manifest.
Cool. So this is this discussion that we're having. If everybody else on the call is paying attention, this is probably a super great thing for everybody to watch, particularly like Roshan, who was asking this question earlier of like, okay, so I'm inside of Mesh Map, but like, how do I use this thing? Or like, it looks sophisticated. What am I supposed to do? Here's an example. Here's an example. So in this case, we would like for Meshery to manage a Kubernetes cluster. The Kubernetes cluster is a single node, like Pranav explained. A part of it managing that other cluster is to scrape metrics, is to pull metrics from the Kubernetes cluster. So if you install a Prometheus daemon set or Prometheus operator, it can be configured to collect node level metrics, nodes being the servers. And in this Kubernetes deployment, there's just one server. It has, I don't know, like 24 cores or I don't know, like 64 gig of RAM. It's a pretty big old beefy server. We wouldn't know that though, because we're not collecting those metrics necessarily. So Pranav, can you go back? I mean, so the thing that we want to do, Pranav, is grab the Prometheus, is you go to raw or a view file, grab that whole thing, save it to a local file, import it. Did you already do this?
Yeah, no, I'm downloading it.
Okay.
Downloading.
So good. So hopefully everybody's watching. So if you've got your Kubernetes manifests, you're running various Kubernetes workloads, like in this case, what's described in this Kubernetes manifest inside this YAML file is a Grafana deployment and a Prometheus deployment. There's a Prometheus deployment so that Prometheus can collect metrics about CPU and memory and other resources in the cluster. The Grafana deployment is, so on line 7, not expect comment or line break. Okay. So if you can open up the file, line 7. In the Grafana deployment is important because Prometheus is capable of collecting all metrics about all kinds of resources, all kinds of things. And so, good, well, I mean, like all kinds of things. And so there's only a certain number of those that we want to show back to the user. Maybe it's, if you're on a pod, how much CPU is this pod consuming, as an example. And so if people have invested in creating dashboards for metrics that they think are important, if they've done so in Grafana or a Grafana compatible dashboard, Meshery can import the definition of that dashboard, and then users don't have to recreate what metrics they want on what chart. So good. So there's unfortunate. Okay, yeah. If you try to deploy this, does it deploy? Fingers crossed. Spec ports, the node port value through port already allocated. Good. That's a great message. We could present that a little more nicely to the user, but that means that Thibault has already deployed this Grafana instance, and we could see it in Visualizer. We're in Designer right now, but in Visualizer, we could see the fact that it was deployed. So that's great. So we're really only concerned with Prometheus. And so if we can get the Prometheus deployed.
I think the PR doesn't have a specific thing.
No, for now, I didn't put anything related. My change about like Prometheus, it's only Grafana there, but I will just do it.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thibault, I'm this close to reaching through the monitor. All right, good. You could have said that 15 minutes ago when we were.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. When I asked you if you have a Prometheus deployment, you said, yeah, it's in your PR. And it's like, well, no, it's not.
Okay.
Do we have, I wonder if in the cat, okay, so this is a good, this is an actionable item for anyone else on the call. This next thing I'm about to say is not super difficult. Even if you don't know what the heck I'm saying, it's still not necessarily super difficult. One of the most popular workloads or applications that people would like to deploy onto a Kubernetes cluster is Prometheus. People want to be able to monitor the cluster, understand what resources are being consumed. So Prometheus I think it's the second graduated project in the CNCF. Like, it's been around a long time. It's quite important. So there's tons of info out there, tons of examples out there about like how to do a simple Prometheus deployment into Kubernetes. If you find a Kubernetes manifest or a Helm chart, or better yet, particularly since no one is familiar with Helm, or I'm just imagining that there's no experts in Helm here and no experts in Kubernetes manifests and all that stuff. That's in large part why MeshMap was created, because well, I'm no expert either. or none of us probably are. But that you can hopefully start to figure it out from here. So what we want to deploy isn't so much Grafana as it is Prometheus. And so if hopefully this sort of a tool makes it possible for us to relatively, easily understand what a monitoring workload configuration would look like. Now, immediately we're presented with, tons of things to fill in. It's like, I don't know. Now, fortunately, most of these probably aren't required. There's a certain number of them that are. Now, this particular component it's called Prometheus, but I wonder where it comes from, or like what, it comes from CoreOS, and it comes from Cube Prometheus Stack. Great. So this is like I think this is like the Prometheus operator. So this is a good one to be working with. As you take this single node and you drop it over, what does it say is wrong? It's missing what?
Missing WebTLS config file.
So in order for the web-based interface to offer up SSL or offer up a secure, it looks like it wants to have a certificate file. So this is one of those areas where, let me see if we can figure this out. This might take a few minutes. I wonder if everybody wants to try to troubleshoot this real time and spend the rest of the meeting doing this, great. But if we have other agenda items, we can move to those while in the background, me and whomever else wants to try to get a certificate file. So yeah, Pranav, I don't know if there's other meeting items that need to be covered.
I think like others are items from Philip, who would like to discuss about his testing work. Like rest I just call for volunteers. Yeah. And one item from Senadi.
All right, I just want to say, yesterday I discussed about the unit test, so it's yet to be merged. But some new members asked about how they can contribute to the community. So the likes of Roshan, if I'm correct, yes, Roshan, I sent you a particular message on the chat forum. Yeah, there are 5 discourse forums, so we can work on this together. Not also the MysterySerial unit test that we're working on, also the Meshery server too. We're working on that also. So my pull request is yet to be merged. I've made the changes already to it. So everything is fine. So by this weekend, I'll still create more new tests to make them perfect, and I'll present them next week, hopefully.
Anybody has any questions for Philip? Okay, so moving on then to our next item. Do we want to debug that Prometheus deployment, or should we move on?
Maybe only after everything else is done.
Okay. So I actually put some call for volunteers because there are a few things which I wanted if someone can help us. The first thing is like currently this specific playground deployment of CNCF playground is failing. What really happening is that it's not failing completely, but part of that is failing because of few reasons. I'd like to give an overview of that. That is, so we have a workflow. This is part of the main build and release workflow, which actually either deploys or updates the already existing CNCF playground, which we were just seeing. So what it does is that it assesses it into the environment. It like goes to this Meshery directory. It pulls the latest changes from the Meshery repo. Then it pulls the latest images for each of these services that are deployed in the Dockerized environment, and then it runs the container. So the current issue is like there are few pods, few containers which are already running on a specific port, and when this specific workflow tries to redeploy stuff, then it fails because the port is already taken care of. So would someone like to take care of this and ensure that this condition never gets to like this issue is fixed? Anybody would like to work on this? The fix could likely be like, instead of directly starting the containers, you can first stop everything and then you can start so that it's a clean start. So by that, I think you wouldn't see this issue. Anybody would like to work on this so that we don't see this red on our build and release workflow? Any takers on this?
Yep, Pranav, I would probably try to fix this. Just one question that I had before. So it actually says that the port is already allocated. So I'm thinking that the value for the port is provided manually, is it?
It's actually in the Docker Compose. So if you see Meshery's playground Docker Compose, so let me show quickly. You go to, okay, 1 second. If you go to Meshery and you go to install, there you'll see a playground directory. In that, you'll see the Dockerized version of playground, and in that you'll see the Docker Compose. Basically, this defines all the different adapters as well as Meshery service. So there would be a port on which that thing is defined. So
okay, since we've actually arrived at this page, can we just do a search for the same port number and see if it occurs maybe 4 times or something like that? Just a quick check.
Okay. Yes, it does. For console.
Yep. So I guess it would kind of be easier for me to figure this one out. Yeah, I would probably spend some time with this and come back to you on this. Thanks.
Okay. And the next item. Okay, so the next item I'd like to discuss is the other important issue, that is like, which I discussed a little bit in the starting, that is a couple of the adapters E2 tests are still failing, and we need to ensure that we fix them. Like if I talk about Meshery E2C, it's working fine. There are no issues, but somehow there is issue in the UI. This docs build, which is not showing the latest stuff. So there are two issues to this. One is like if someone who would like to learn more about Jekyll and the docs framework that we have and would like to contribute in this area, then you need to like help. You would like to work on this, basically fixing why this Meshery latest status is not being shown, even though it's successful. And first of all, anybody would like to work on this? Ensuring why docs are not working fine. The other issue, you can also like ask, stay in the comments or either Slack. The other issue which I just discussed were like the few tests are actually failing, which we have to go to the logs and verify why they are failing. So this is another issue. I'll actually create an issue for these so that anybody would like to work on that, then they can take up the items, and we can also track them easily then. So I think if nobody wants, if you like to, you can think and you can tell in the, okay, Karthik would like to work. Karthik, would you like to work on this fixing the workflow or the documentation? You can open up your mic and like that discuss. Okay, documentation, that's good. Okay, so I'll create an issue and then probably assign it to you. If you can just like message your GitHub on Slack, then it would be easier. So okay, so moving on to the next item is like one of the fixed data. First, anybody have any question on the thing which I just discussed? Okay. So the next issue which I fixed recently was one of the issue about MysterySerial was not being released. So the problem was like I have explained in the PR. It was like straightforward. The problem was in this Homebrew recently like restructured their directories, in which earlier the formulas were directly under the formulas directory, but now they actually they group the formulas based on the starting character of the specific formula, and that was the only reason it was failing. So I just in the workflow I added the formula path, and now it works fine. We have already made 2-3 releases of this. So yep, I don't think there would be any questions on this. So I'll quickly move on to the next item. That is a question which Friedrich asked recently on discussion forum. Like it's very relevant to our discussion about CI/CD and basically development of different areas of Meshery. That is, he asked a very good question like how does components definition are being generated, and also he asked like how this came up, like how this auto generated. So they like what I answered. I just like to tell everybody as well in case you're curious. So Meshery actually have a component generation workflow. What it does is that you can check out this link. What it does is that internally it runs a specific script which is written to actually go through each of the Meshery's model and component defined in the spreadsheet. And this spreadsheet actually defines all the metadata for different components which Meshery integrates with as of today, which is like more than 200. And yeah, so that script actually goes to each of these, and what it does is that it generates the schema for each of these components as well as model, and then it actually puts that out on a specific mesh model directory in Meshery repo on each release. Yeah, no, actually every day in the morning it does that. So it's a nightly release, nightly workflow. So you can actually check that. I have also opened this work. This is the workflow which does that. Like every morning it does this, and this workflow basically runs that scripts. So you can check that specific script if you want to like explore more on that. And yes, there is sibling workflow to this, that is mesh model updater. What that does is that it actually updates the spreadsheet itself. So what it does is that Meshery actually have the capability of generating all this metadata of each component which it can support because it talks to artifact hub and it can do all that stuff. So there's a component updater workflow which actually updates this spreadsheet every day, so that new models are automatically generated, and whichever model have this publish equal to true, then like the generator workflow generates your component and put them in the specific directory in Meshery. So now what happens is that when Meshery runs, it actually, whenever it boots up, it reads all those files and then auto register them in its registry, which is a small database in its small database which it runs, which it has for storing and processing other things. So yes. Yeah, so that was all about this. And in case you want to also know, like apart from models and components, there is two more things that is, okay, let me show you from here. It's quite, yeah, so there are also relationships and policies, which you can like see, like policies are like different authorization stuff would you like to define for the components, and relationships is like how different components relates to one another. Let's say like how a deployment can become a child of namespace, so that's defined in relationship. So yep, so you can read all that stuff in this either here or there documentation on that as well. And also there's a doc, so you can read there as well. So you can read this answer like I've explained, given all the relevant information. So yes, that's it. Any questions on this specific stuff? I need to these things. Okay. I think nobody has any question on this. Sonali, would you like to take up the last item? Would you like to discuss that?
Yes. Here, so implement the mesh map snapshot in Meshery. So regarding the when I create a PR, it is actually fail the middle of the workflow. Like it's actually failing the Cypress error. Is there any reason for that? I think that here we don't have any Cypress in the Meshery. So I think that is the reason for that. Also, I have implement this is also another repo like MysterySerial. It also plays fail at this Cypress error.
I think Mario would have a better answer to this question.
Hey, I've never seen this error, but it seems to be that. Okay, this specific test run against a local instance, right?
Yes.
Correct. Okay, so it's localhost, etc. With some port. Is the expected behavior to redirect to this playground Meshery IO host? Is that expected? Like, it'd be good to take a look at the test file, but
Right now we don't have any Cypress test in this repo. But when we run the mesh map snapshot, it will come to some point. There is some Cypress thing. I think because that reason this will fail.
Yeah, let me take a look because this seems to. I didn't set this specific workflow up. I think it was Abby, but I might be wrong. Okay, do we know where this test file is? Like anyone else? So we can take a look. Anyone? No one knows where this comes from?
Yeah,
That
let's see.
me.
Yeah. Yeah. So this one, let's see. This workflow is
I'm sure there's some git pull from another repo and then just try some test. But it says layer 5 labs.
Yeah.
Can you share that URL to the run log, please? In the Zoom chat.
Maybe it is like meshmap.ym in the Meshery workflows. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, we have to look at the output. I think I look right now.
There's a GitHub work. Yeah, Pranav just pasted the link.
Oh, there.
There's a GitHub.
Okay, that's helpful. GitHub workflow.
No, man, boy, I can't get the sentence out for getting interrupted. There is a GitHub Marketplace app. It should be called, I think it's called InfraShot, but it should be called Meshmap Snapshot. Actually, maybe I take that back. Actually, the app I think is called Meshery. No, I guess they're both out there. I'm sorry. There is a GitHub application. Oh man, sorry. There's a GitHub application called Meshery. There is a GitHub action published in the marketplace called Meshmap Snapshot. And this action is being run. It is the action that produces the screenshot that you see on any of the Meshery pull requests. There will be a screenshot that basically looks like Meshmap, more or less. And that snapshot is of one of Meshery's latest Helm charts, the Helm charts that deploy Meshery. And so, but why that particular workflow is failing, or if it has been failing for a while, I haven't looked. But that does give you the info that you need. And now the repo behind, yeah, actually the repo behind mesh map snapshot, that GitHub action, it is the link that's in the chat. What ends up happening is, well, so is Yash Sharma on? Yash, the other Yash Sharma. He had just gotten done adding some documentation inside of Meshery docs that I think someone just had up a moment ago. Pranav just had up a moment ago. It helps give an explanation as to the mechanics of the thing. So this diagram.
Okay, I think I found the JS file for that. Not sure what it does, but let me share that over here. But yeah, you can proceed with the explanation. Yeah, I was looking at that too. So why do we have a Cypress running there? Is it to visit playground and then take a screenshot by clicking? So it's just to automate that taking of the snapshot, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
I just look at the logs of the actions and like the workflow is failing for a while, I guess. It's
Oh no.
Okay, so it's failing since yesterday, if I'm not wrong. Let me just confirm it. Okay, yeah, it is failing since last 19 hours, and
Okay.
pull request 8573 after pull. Okay, it started failing after merging. Okay, I need to check.
One question. Like, can you go back? Someone who's sharing Pranav,
Okay.
can you go to the run output?
Look,
And
I
then
just shared the link to the action out logs, so you can open it.
But what I mean is that, so there's a specific route in Playground that it's redirecting multiple times. So Cypress emits this as an error. So it looks like something might be wrong with the loading of that specific place. So if you look at the Cypress run, it's mesh map screenshot, I think, the job, the one we were looking at. It's in the
this.
Yep,
it was shared a bit before. Mesh map screenshot, that's the job name.
Okay.
Yeah, let me share the link again. I just want to make it clear, like how one would go and debug this. There's the link. So there, if you look at the link, can you try visiting it? I'm trying it myself, but I don't want to. Yeah, there. Click on that playground. Yeah, there. Okay. So do you see any kind of reloading? No, right?
No.
That's what seems that is happening. That's what I see could be happening, but there's no specific step that Cypress fails in. It's in the before each hook. So if you look at the code, there's a callback. Let me see if I can find that. Okay. This is the line. Let me share that over here. So this is the line that's failing. That's the before each.
I think the application ID. I was just saying the application. I was saying the application ID. Yeah, because that's the reason. Because you can see the application ID is not there, and probably that's the reason it's good.
And we are grabbing a Cypress env variable called application ID. Is there a way that could be empty? We would know that by looking at the Cypress config file. So let me share. I'll share the link again to the design file. Can you open that up? Yeah, so there, if you look at the left side, there's a Cypress config file. Application ID is supposed to be there. Application, it's empty right now. Not that one. It's not a folder. It's a file right under support. Under support, so there's a folder below called support. Down there. Yeah. No, a bit more. No, but not in the folder. Right below the folder, at the same level. Cypress config.js. There. So that's the application ID in line 8. It's empty. I'm not completely sure if it's populated during the test run, We need to take a look, but that's the value that's coming empty and it's being replaced. There's some operation there.
Yeah.
Before each, there's some. Can you go to support helpers? Support helpers. Yeah, that. So this is where we import before each callback for custom URL. So the line 27. Yeah, so there's some initial setup going on there. Intercept extension path. Visit mesh map path. Who wrote this? Is it? It was Avi, right?
Yeah.
Is he in the call?
Yeah. No.
There is a
but-
constants file.
Yeah, there's a couple. Yeah, a little more context, or a little more context that might give you, well, a little more contextual clues, I suppose. And that is that I think that by the way, all of you are welcome to try this next thing, which is the way that this gets configured, Mr. Mario, whose last name I need to practice because now I can't remember that. Mr. Mario, never mind. I'm still working on
Arriaga.
Arriaga. It's just fun to say. It's just
Tinkles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Pranav is reading my mind and he's taking us, for all of you that are on the call, it would be wonderful if you tried this, because this is a new feature for Meshery and it's having some trouble. That's why Mario's working his way through, reverse engineering, where he's working his way through figuring it out. The way that, so this particular feature is like, it's exactly what Mario said, which is that if you have a Kubernetes workload, a Helm chart, a Kubernetes manifest, or if you have, and you can upload those into Meshery and it will visualize them for you. Or maybe you just, from scratch, you did a design in MeshMap. Great. Any of those things, you might want to get a screenshot of what they look like or a snapshot of what they look like into your pull requests. Because as you change it, you might want to get verification that things still look like they're supposed to, or, that, and so the way that all users, including all of you, you're all welcome to do it. You all have access to do it. Folks sign in to their account. They go over in the menu. They'd go over to I think it's under work. Pranav, if you don't mind navigating there again, it's under workspaces and connections. You all can, create a connection. So Yash Sharma, that's on the call, that Yash Sharma, he did this interface here. So if you don't like it, go complain to him. It's pretty nice, I think. And then as you go to, what you can do is you can connect you can get your own snapshots going on. So as you click connect, there's this wizard. I'm not going to walk through all the steps with all of you, but rather what you do is you walk through the wizard and you authenticate the Meshery app to one or more of your GitHub repositories as one of the first steps. And the reason I brought this up is to tell Mario that the fourth step in the sequence up there, connect app, select repo, you connect the app, you authorize the app, you select a repository, you identify like in this case, a Helm chart or a Kubernetes manifest that you want to get a snapshot of. So you just you configure the application path. Then you set up some GitHub secrets to be able to have the workflow, that MeshMap snapshot workflow that you're debugging, have the right secret to communicate back with Meshery Cloud, kind of back and forth. And to finalize everything, Meshery Cloud will facilitate the configuration of a workflow in that repo. And so that might be one of the missing links for Mario as you're chasing this down. Or I guess that leads us back to the start of where we were looking at a PR in Meshery, I think, and it was failing this step. And that particular workflow is generated by this
by the app, GitHub app.
Yeah, yeah. And I think as you get to the, all right. And I think as you get to the fourth step here, it will give you a copy of that, or like it'll create it for you if you want it to, or you can just copy it and paste it. And anyway, one of the things that I don't know, or I know that we haven't perfected here just yet is, well, what happens when Meshery moves on and it has more functionality and it needs to potentially update the workflow? Or hopefully this is designed in such a way that workflows don't need to be updated. Certainly the app that Mario was just going through, I'm sorry, not the app, the GitHub action that Mario was walking through, certainly it will enhance and change over time. And it's commonplace for all of you that are on the call to go into a GitHub workflow, take that action that you're using and like specify that you want to use a new version of the action. And so as mesh map snapshots versions up and versions up, eventually people will have to version up. And what we need to be careful of is a slow deprecation cycle. So if we do make changes in the GitHub action, so I don't know if changes in the GitHub action have recently caused this workflow to fail and we need to, move to the newest version if that's
But you know
the thing.
what? This PR is under ZZ Shark. So is this a fork of Meshery.io?
Yeah, must be. Or is it Meshery.io? Huh?
Weird. Yeah, that's what I see.
That's one of those things that it might be. And so, yeah, to Mario's point, it might be that the Meshery app was allowed access to the Meshery.io repo, but not allowed access to the fork. The fork.
Makes
so the
sense.
workflow.
So we need some checks and balances before attempting what that Cypress test is trying to do, right? So that we emit proper errors.
Yeah, more errors would be helpful. It is also the case, Vehab, I thought you might have been one of the individuals. Some of you have recently gone into different workflows that we use, and you've identified that some of those jobs they're just simply inappropriate for a fork to run, like a Meshery stable release. It's just not appropriate for somebody's fork to try to make a stable release. Like it's not going to work and it's inappropriate. And so the same thing could be done for the mesh map snapshot. There's an if statement that's typically used. You guys could bring up it.
I've done that, Lee. Yeah. It can simply just be commented out and it works fine then.
Ashud did that. Yeah, Ashud, you might want to, I think that's the kicker. That's like the ticket. Ashud, do you want to, if you have an example handy, that might be something from, that might be what Mario is.
Can we, I have a question. So this pull request from this apparent fork, if you look at this link I just sent, the workflow file isn't found. Is that expected? That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering how did this job got configured in this repo in the first place? It's kind of weird. Like if you look at it, that's all through the GitHub app, right? Like there doesn't need to be any workflow file in this repo for this to work. Correct?
No, okay. It is. It does need to be present, and it is present in. Oh, well, yeah. Let's see. I know it's present in Meshery. Okay.
Isn't this just a simple fork of the original repo? I mean, the user.
No, it's Meshery.io. That's our Meshery.io page, not Meshery. So let me show you the pull request. I'll show it again. So it's this one I just sending. So that's from that's the repo. And if you open test commit, and you'll see that the mesh map screenshot service pull request target fails. So yeah. That's because of the GitHub app that we mentioned a while back. GitHub Action, perhaps. So it's interesting how this got set up, but
Okay. I think then we should like probably discuss it offline because we are already
yes.
20 minutes after. Yeah. So there's one more item, but we'll probably take that up with Mario on Slack because we're already 20 minutes after. So I think everybody had a great call today. We all learned something new. And so see you all in the next call, which would be 2 weeks from now. And thank you all for joining and see you later on Slack. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Hey, thanks everyone. Bye bye.
Guys. Bye, guys.